All right, we're good to go. Welcome to our first meeting, 2021, of the New York Giants Preservation Society. Tonight we have a special night with Jeff Wagner, who wrote a very interesting book about people who played for the Giants who you may not have realized played for the Giants. Just some housekeeping so you're all aware. For the last 8 or 9 years, we've had some live events at first Bergino Baseball Clubhouse, and Jay sold his place, so we then moved to Affinities, and now that's also gone by the wayside. So I will look for a place, but we can't do anything now anyway. And this has turned out to be a wonderful way for us all to meet. Upcoming events. Next week we have Tom Rigney, very famous musician, and you guys would know him more as the son of Bill the Cricket Rigney. He will talk about his career in music, but especially his career as an observer, watching his father at the Polo Grounds, and then later become the manager of the San Francisco Giants. And then he became manager again when the team was sold as sort of a transitional manager. Had a storied career in Major League Baseball. Hopefully on the 21st we'll have Larry Hogan. I'm not sure about that. And on January 28th we have Alex Drude, who wrote a brand new book called 26 in a Row about the Giants winning streak way back when. Steve, there you go, Perry Barber. Steve just purchased and read the book. In February 18th, we'll have Perry Barber. Hopefully, we'll have Dave Littman talk about the team that never forgot, the 1951 Giants. Dave, we need to talk about that.
What date is that?
Perry Barber is February 18th. Hi, Hindi. Dave Littman is not confirmed yet. We will be speaking to him. And one congratulatory note goes out to the man with the golden voice, Dave Taylor. He has a book coming out about the Hollywood Stars baseball team in March. And even though this is a Giant thing, I think since he's a valued member, we will give him audience. And Jeff Cohen, Dan might be somebody you would want to get on your barbecue and baseball, because Dan is just fabulous.
Hey Gary, when is Treater's book coming out?
When you get a chance. I'm sorry, Steve?
Treater, the book about Stoneham, I guess. Treater. When is that coming out?
Don't have a release date yet. I will.
Okay.
So again, I want to welcome all the new people here tonight. I don't want to mention names, but you know who you are. Please come back, and all of the returning people, thank you again for all your support. Let's have a great year together, and I will try my best to keep the guests coming. But for now, we're going to turn the mic over to Jeff Wagner. Jeff, did you need me to try to give you screen access?
Yeah, there's a point when I would like to share.
Okay, whenever you're ready, I will do my best to try to remember how to get that, but I don't think it'll be a problem. But the floor is yours. Ladies and gentlemen, I present Jeff Wagner, esteemed author for our tonight's Zoom.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't know about how esteemed I am.
You have a lot of books out on this subject.
Yeah,
I like that word.
Well, 2 years ago, I was not a published author, so this was kind of a whirlwind. These all have come out within the last year or so. So yeah, hello from California. I'm in the Bay Area, specifically San Jose, California. I'm actually a native of this area. I was born in 1960, so I just missed out on the New York Giant era as far as in person. But I definitely grew up with the San Francisco Giants, and have been a big fan of theirs for over 50 years. And
Okay, I'll call you. Okay.
my first Giants game was 1971 over here at Candlestick Park against the Cincinnati Reds. So I did get a chance to see Willie Mays, Juan Marichal, a little bit toward the end of their Giant careers. People like McCovey was around another 10 years, so I saw him a few times. So yeah, been a big baseball fan, Giants fan for quite a while. A couple years ago, well, more than a couple years ago, but a couple years ago, I was just surfing around on this website that I love called sportsreference.com, which I'm sure most of you or many of you are familiar with. But they have within that they have baseballreference.com, footballreference.com. So baseballreference.com, in case you're not aware of it, is anything you want about any season, team, player, even game going back decades. It's quite an impressive site. And I was just playing around with on it a couple years ago, and I was looking at the Giants area specifically, and they had a link to Hall of Famers, and I was just playing around and listed all the Hall of Famers that played for the Giants, whether they started with the Giants or not. And I started seeing these names that, holy cow, man, I had no idea these guys played for the Giants. And so I just for fun, I started kind of documenting some of these just for fun. And then, the list started getting to be in the 30s, and I said, well, I mean, this might be kind of a fun little book, particularly you can, nowadays you can publish for pretty much nothing on Amazon if you self-publish. And so I thought, yeah, maybe it'd be fun to do this. So I did a Giants book, about 40 players in it. Came out, I timed it almost perfectly. It was coming out April 9th, 2019, first week of the opening day week of the baseball season, supposedly. But then COVID kind of changed that. But since then, I did a Yankee book that came out in June, and then I just published a Dodger book that came out in November. The same thing, they played baseball for the Yankees, the Giants, or the Dodgers. But the Giants book, I included a little, besides several players, I did a little bit of a timeline for the Giants. I made a list of, which I'll show you in my slideshow, of other Giant players, most of them never heard of probably, but they have very interesting names, a lot of interesting nicknames. I have a little section on just basic Giants statistics, a little area on all-time, where they fit in all-time in various areas. And that was a little surprise for me when I looked into that. I had no idea, despite how long I've been a fan, that they were, and they still are, the #1 team in wins in all time. They're still first, and then they're also first in Hall of Famers, which surprised me a little bit. Yeah. And they're the #2 team all time in ERA, which again all that took me a little bit by surprise. So I broke this book down into 3 sections. The start of something big, which are players who began their careers with the Giants and then left at some point for other teams. Then hello and goodbye are players who were on the Giants for part of a season or 2 or 3 years in the middle of their career, and then a final one called the end of the line, which players who retired as a Giant. So I'm going to see. Am I able to share my screen, or do you have to?
Let me see what I could do for this on this. I hit share screen now, so Jeff, I think you should be able to do what you got to do.
Okay.
If you can, I don't know what else to do for you. I'm sorry.
All right. So do you see the cover
No.
of the book? No. Let me try this then.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there we go.
Yep.
So you can see the cover of the book? Okay.
Yep.
So that's the cover of the book. And it's not advancing. Oh, there we go. Okay, this is the start of something big. These are the players that are in it. I don't know if you can see the highlights. Those are the New York Giant players. Hello and goodbye, same. These are the players. And again, the first 6 are mainly New York Giant players. And then the end of the line, 15 players. Again, the left column is pretty much all the New York Giant area. Now you see Jackie Robinson on there. There's an asterisk that goes with that, which I'm sure most of you are, I'm sure, aware of it, but a lot of people aren't. A lot of people weren't, which I'm surprised. All right, there we go. All right, so the first end of the line is, I'm just going to go through. I picked out about 4 or 5 players. Definitely feel free to chime in if you have comments about them. First one, Archibald Graham. This one I did not know of. I'm very familiar with him in the movie Field of Dreams. He was played by Burt Lancaster as an adult, and I don't know the actor who played him as a player.
It was Fred Wally, I believe.
Yeah, that sounds right. So in case you didn't realize it, Graham was an actual player in the first decade of the 1900s, and he actually did play in one game. He did not get an at bat like in the movie. He did play the field. He was brought in the bottom of the 8th inning of this one game on June 29th in Washington as a defensive replacement, and he was on deck in the top of the 9th when the 3rd out was made. So he never got an at bat, and then he was sent to the minors after that. Never was brought up again, and then ended up quitting baseball in 1908. And he was a doctor as well, as portrayed in the movie, and he actually ended up being a doctor in Minnesota for 50 years after that. Wow. And then he died in 1965. So a lot of this was true. In the movie, he was a right-hander. In real life, he's a left-hander, batting and fielding, but technicality. So yeah, that was very interesting. I had no idea that was the case. That was taken from an actual guy. So just a couple guys, Frisch and Wilson, both rookies with the Giants. Frisch actually was a pretty good player. I think it was around his 5th year. He had a little, from what I read, he had a little altercation with John McGraw.
Who didn't?
Yeah, and it led to him being traded to the Cardinals for Roger Hornsby. And Hornsby was a player I didn't realize was a Giant. I didn't know he played for the Giants. But he played one season, had a good year, hit 361, 26 home runs, 125 RBIs. He had kind of a down season before that, and he was 31 years old. And was in the middle of a contract. He was trying to get, if I remember right, like 3 years, 50,000 a year, and they would only offer him one, and then he kind of complained about it, and then decided to trade for a younger Frisch. Yeah, Hornsby was around for 1 year, and then had gambling issues, bet on the horses. Giants management didn't like it.
Managed for 32 games next season.
And he did, yeah, right. And then he was traded to Boston for a catcher named Shanty Hogan and outfielder named Jimmy Welsh. Hogan played 5 seasons for the Giants, hit .311 in 618 games, and Welsh played 2 seasons in the outfield, hitting .294 in 162 games. But Frisch, as everybody knows, played next 11 seasons in a Hall of Fame career with the Cardinals as part of the Gas House gang. So didn't turn out all great for the Giants there, but Hack Wilson, another one. He actually wasn't doing too great as a young Giant, and
Nope.
After 3 seasons, they traded him to the Cubs for right fielder Earl Webb. Webb played 4 games for the Giants before being traded back to the Cubs for an outfielder named Ty Tyson, who played 2 seasons in New York.
Oh my God.
And 140 games, and had 4 home runs, 52 RBIs, hit .283 in those 140 games. Hack Wilson, on the other hand, as you all know, he actually led the National League in home runs his first season in Chicago, and did so 3 more times in the next several years. And then obviously in 1930, still has the all-time RBI record, single season record, 190. So that, again, those 2 seasons, ouch. Not good for the Giants, those 2. Hoyt Wilhelm was just somebody who was just amazing to me. I was definitely familiar. Whoops. I was definitely familiar with him, but just what he's done in hindsight is just always been amazing to me. I mean, he was a rookie at 29 years of age and ended up playing 21 seasons. How many people can say that? He was released, 16 days before his 50th birthday in 1972. But he won 15 games as a rookie without starting any of them. In fact, he didn't start as, he was a rookie in, I think in 1952. Yeah.
Yes.
He didn't start his first game until 1958 with Cleveland. And then he actually ended up no-hitting the Yankees that season, which is amazing. So he pitched he was the first pitcher to save 200 games, and the first pitcher to pitch in 1,000 games. And his total is still, I think it's 1,010, something like that. He's still 6th all time in games pitched. And he holds the record of 124 wins in relief. So it was, quite amazing. I mean, when he was playing, probably no big deal, but when you look back at it now, it's quite amazing. And he was the first reliever in the Hall of Fame in 1985.
My mom.
So Jim Thorpe, he's on the cover of the book. Obviously, better well known for his gold medals in the Olympics in 1912 and Hall of Fame football career in the 20s. Had a fairly short career. He played on and off for the Giants for 5 years, from 1913 to 1918, and he had a stint with the Cubs in between. He was kind of back and forth on the minors. but he ended up playing 152 games with the Giants. Had a 216 average, 7 home runs, 85 RBIs. Had a 252 career average. So his baseball career was not quite up to par with his football and Olympic career, but he did play for the Giants, and he again was another one that I was not aware had played for the Giants. So it was kind of interesting. All right, Jackie Robinson. So you all probably know this, that in December 1956, the Dodgers evidently, Jackie Robinson had planned to retire after the 56th season, but he never told the Dodgers. And Robinson his productivity was down the last couple of years. So the Dodgers, I don't know why, but they decided to trade him to the Giants for Dick Littlefield and $35,000 in cash, which they tried to do on December 13th, 1956. When Robinson found out, he said, "I'm not going to report," and evidently he had already agreed to be an executive for the Chock full of Nuts company. So he refused to report. Trade was nullified, and then he officially retired on January 5th, 1957. So, yeah, interesting story. I was aware of that as well, but I wasn't aware of the specifics. So, kind of interesting. Not many people Giant fans I know even knew that, so it was kind of interesting. But I only know San Francisco Giant fans, so for the most part. So just a couple others, I was aware both of them were Giants as well, finishing their careers. Duke Snider, both of them just played 1 year for the Giants. Snider came over from the Mets after wanting to play for a competitor again after a couple hundred lost seasons, I think, with the Mets. And so the Giants, what they seem to like to do in the 50s, 60s particular, they like to bring on these veteran guys. They were in pennant races for a lot of the years, and they like to bring on these veteran guys to help them possibly clinch the pennant. So they brought Snider in for that because they were battling St. Louis, I think, that particular year, and so
it worked in reverse for them with Red Shanings when they traded him to the Braves, and then the Braves went on to win twice.
Yeah, that's right. Then Warren Spahn, similar type thing. His career was kind of fading with the Braves and the Giants, and then he was waived, and the Mets again picked him, and then picked him up, and then the Giants picked him up from the Mets for about a half a season, and he went 3-4 in 16 starts with the Giants in 65. Again, Giants were in a battle with the Dodgers, and they were hoping he would help them. I'm sorry.
Jeff, I had a question about Spahn. Was he on the Giants in 65?
I'll give a conference.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Can you repeat that question?
Enjoy.
The answer is yes, 65.
Well, he joined him mid-season in 65.
Yep. So he was there when Marichal had the big fight with Roseboro. I wonder what he thought of that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's funny that they were on the
year before.
Yeah, it's interesting. Him and Marichal are on the same team after obviously this 1963 15-inning battle they had. But I pointed out Spahn, but again, some of the things he did was just, in hindsight, it was just amazing. I mean, in that 15-inning game he pitched against Marichal, he threw 201 pitches, which is and he was 43 years old. He threw 201 pitches. I mean, that's
Never happen again.
that's almost unbelievable. And then, what he did after the age of 35, he won 20 games, 6 years in a row from age 35 to age 40. He won 20 games each year. And then he won 23 at age 42. He pitched no hitters at age 39 and 40, back-to-back years. And he hit 9 home runs after the age of 40, which is, I can't even fathom that. And he actually hit 4 at the age of 40. And he had 35 career home runs, but he hit 9 after the age of 40. I mean, I guess pitchers were just saying he's 40 years old, hit the ball or something. I don't know. But he won 20 games 13 times. It's just amazing stats that he put up. So, and then there's some interesting stuff in here about his time with New York, and so this is the one I was telling you about. Other players I know. These are all players who were on the Giants. Most of them before 1940, because nicknames started to fade out after that.
Hey Jeff, in that other category, you can include Steve Carlton, Dick Groats.
I did, yeah.
Mary Joe Carter.
Yeah, they're all in that. Yeah.
All of it.
It's okay.
Del Crandall. Del Crandall played in that 23-inning game with the Mets.
Played for the Giants.
Yeah, the winning hit.
The catcher.
Mays played shortstop.
You're right.
Gaylord Perry made his mark, right?
Soaked up the atmosphere.
And Ed Sudol was the umpire, right? The plate umpire.
11 hours, right?
I was at the game. Can you hear me?
How about Harvey Keene?
He's in there.
He's in there.
I'll go back and show you the names again.
Good old Harvey and watch Koufax strike him out, and that was the end of that. Remember, he was at the plate.
2-2 to Harvey Keene.
Harvey Keene.
Yep.
1 pitch away.
1 pitch away. That's right. And old Harvey, who won some batting chips, just stood there doing his Dale Mitchell impression.
Hey Jeff,
Jim Mitchell tried to swing and checked it.
How many of these players have you guys? I'm sorry.
I have a story about Jeff. I have a story quickly on Warren Spahn, who I met in 1985 and spent some time with him. And what he said about the Giants was essentially this. He and Stoneham, after games, would drink bourbon up in Stoneham's office. And it was almost like a requirement for Spahn, after he dressed, to come upstairs, and they would sit around and they would talk. And he thought that Stoneham was a jerk and not competent at all. Feeney ran the club, but he said to me that lots of times Stoneham just drank, and he needed a drinking partner. So I became Spahn, that drinking partner, while I was there. He thought maybe that was the reason he was there.
No, he says now we're going to concentrate on the transition.
May
Oh,
I?
Warren, that was from Spahn directly.
May I jump in with a little Hoyt Wilhelm note?
Sure.
I knew Hoyt Wilhelm because after his playing days, he was a minor league manager and coach in the Yankee organization, so I got to know him. And I think you'll love this. But his entire career, including the post-career as a Yankee instructor, he always had his New York Giants equipment bag. That was the bag he carried his stuff in.
Aw.
So that was really vintage. That was from the early 50s. And all the times he was traded, he still wanted to use that bag.
It was a bad deal for the Giants.
Am I coming through? Can you hear me?
Frank,
Yes.
everybody can hear you.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Hoyt Wilhelm, for his first at bat in the major leagues, hit a home run.
Right.
He never hit one since.
That's right. That's right.
That's true. That's actually in my write-up. Yeah.
Jeff, before you go over the list of everybody, that you wanted, if people are interested, what is the best way to purchase your book?
Well, right at the bottom there is my author page on Amazon. That's probably the easiest. Just amazon.com/author/Jeff S. Wagner. On Amazon, though, if you search for They Played Baseball, it'll come up on that or my name, all three ways.
So the series of books that you've done, because you're a Giant fan, I assume that that was the one you enjoyed writing most.
Oh yeah, well for sure. Yeah, I just thought after I did it, I thought maybe fans of the other teams might enjoy, reading the same type thing. So yeah, these two are out now too.
Is Randy Johnson in the Giant one?
The Yankee one.
Is he in the Giant one?
Yeah, he is. Yeah. Not many photos of him. Well, I did have a photo of him as a Giant that I was considering for the cover, but the Jim Thorpe one was kind of the one I went with. But
I'm pretty sure he won his 300 game with them. That was his.
That's true.
Yes, he did.
He did. Yeah.
I was at that game in Washington.
That's correct.
Rainy day.
Wow.
Is Marichal in the Dodger book?
He is. He's in the Red Sox book too that I'm working on. So I'm working on these three right now. The Red Sox will come up next, and then the Cubs after that.
Mo Resner, are you in the Cub book?
Yeah, I'm here. I didn't know when to speak. I got a few things to say, but I think everybody knows I'm a vicious Cub fan. For 70 years. But my background is with the Giants.
Hey Mo.
Yeah.
Without seeing who's in the Jeff Wagner book on the Cubs, can you name one guy who should be in there?
Which you should get. Say that again.
Can you make a guess of one of the guys who would be in the Cubs book?
Who's somebody who played for the Cubs that we wouldn't know?
Oh, we wouldn't know. Bobby Thompson, but we knew he was there.
I mean, that most people wouldn't know.
Are you talking about? I'm missing the question altogether.
Somebody played for the Cubs.
Turn off your radio. Lower your radio.
Somebody, at the end of his career, wound up with the Cubs.
I didn't Monty Irvin play for the Cubs or was drafted?
Yes.
Yeah, 56.
He's in the book. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, he did.
Yes.
Yep.
There you go.
Wilson story. My pop on to me.
Okay, breaking news, the U.S. Capitol Police Chief is resigning. And it comes after the massive
Yeah, we know that.
How's the radio on? If you could turn it off, please.
that inside a non-scalable fence.
I can't mute anybody now because the
Days
screen is being
when
taken over.
National Guard members are heading to Washington from several other states. Alex Moore.
Who's ever got your radio on? Turn it off.
I think I got it off.
Or mute yourself.
We're good.
I have a Wilson story that my pop told me. He worked as a vendor. When the Giants were home in the Polo Grounds, he worked there. And when the Giants were on the road, he worked in Yankee Stadium. This is during the Ruth, Garrick, and of course the Giants championship years in '33. And the Giants acquired Hack Wilson. He was coming off a bender in '94. It was batting practice, and Hack Wilson was in right field. One of the Giants hit a ball off the right field wall, and Hack Wilson fired it into second base, thinking there was a runner trying to stretch a single into a double in a real game.
That's funny.
Do you want to show us that list, Jeff, or you want to go ahead?
So these are the Red Sox Cubs book should be up by opening day. Just to let you know. Yeah, these are available. So I was curious though. This list here, do you guys know many of these players? These are any of them?
Early Grimes.
Yeah. Early Grimes.
I actually have the T206 card of Bull Durham.
Yeah, that was a funny one. Yeah, I didn't know there was a Bull Durham. Yeah.
Well, High Pockets was on that team that won 26 games in a row.
Kelly. Yeah.
He was a big guy, tall.
Oh, yeah.
Who was Oyster Burns?
Burns.
What a
Funny
name.
Name,
Must have
isn't
been
it?
born in Cape Cod somewhere.
Oyster Burns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one thing I've discovered doing all of these books is how many amazing or little nicknames there've been.
Oyster Burns led in home runs and RBIs in 1895.
All right.
Okay, so these are the rookies in the book.
Dan will tell you the last 4 of those were signed by George Genovese, right, Dan? Foster, Kingman, Maddox, and Matthews were all signed by the same giant scout, George Genovese.
Wow.
Good judge of talent.
Good one, Bill. That's a good one.
Yeah.
You're right.
You know,
Here's one on Hoyt Wilhelm. Tell me this. Can we top this? Hoyt Wilhelm, Ray Dandridge, Willie Mays, all played on the 51 Minneapolis Millers. Has there ever been a minor league team that had 3 or more future Hall of Famers on it?
Probably the Seals from San Francisco.
Good guess.
Missouri, DiMaggio, and
Well, maybe Corsetti was there with them.
It wouldn't surprise me if there's more than that, but
Yeah, it is
you know,
more.
at the time that I started working on Miller's stuff in the 80s, Joe Overfield, if any of you remember him, no longer alive, but Joe was in Buffalo, and he was the biggest historian on Buffalo. And he wrote to me something because it was the Millers in Buffalo at that time had the most Hall of Famers. This was in the 80s. I mean, the Millers have added a couple of more than that, but I don't know, maybe you could look at some Buffalo teams and see if they had more than 3 on it at one time.
I've always wondered.
The Newark Bears of the late 30s, the Yankees farm team.
Yeah, but who were Hall of Famers on that? 1937 Newark. 32 Newark team. I'm not sure if it had Hall of Famers.
Wasn't Monty Irvin there?
Not in the no. That was the Newark Eagles.
Newark Eagles.
He wouldn't have been allowed on the Newark Bears.
You're right.
Is
check.
Darryl Strawberry the first player to complete the circuit of the 4 teams that played in New York City?
Yes, and he's the only one whose entire career is defined by the 4 New York teams.
True.
All 14, he played for all 4 teams and only all 4 teams.
Who was that now?
Darryl
Strawberry.
Darryl Strawberry.
Hit long home runs, never moved in the outfield, and did a lot of drugs.
Yep, in short. Yep.
Good guy.
And buddied up with Gooden.
Yeah.
Can anybody name a player that the Giants got in return for George Foster, Dave Kingman, Gary Maddox, and Gary Matthews?
No.
Frank Duffy.
Frank Duffy.
Frank Duffy.
Yeah. Laura.
They certainly got value for those 4, huh?
Hey, Duffy was the co-captain of the Cleveland Indians under Frank Robinson.
Wow.
God knows why.
Yeah, I know. You're gonna
I
have to
don't think
explain
I'd
that.
admit to that.
Hey, Rich, did Gary Matthews get traded for Evans and Marty Perez?
Actually, I don't remember.
Well, let's find out.
I was asking myself, could I recall anybody they got for those 4? I couldn't.
Right
I think you're right. I think it was Darrell Evans was in that trade, I think. Wasn't Willie Montanez for Gary Maddox or something?
No, I think Montanez might have been in the Braves trade, not Gary Matthews.
Marty Perez, I think, was in that.
Yeah.
Marty Perez and Darrell Evans for Montanez.
That was it, Montanez.
Right, okay, all right.
And Gary Matthews was a free agent.
Right, he just left, right?
And Dave Kingman was sold to the Mets.
Yeah.
Taylor is on your list, Jeff, and if you don't already know it, that's how sign language originated with John McGraw and Dummy Taylor, because he was deaf and dumb, and they coached their communicating sign language to the batter. That's how signals from the coaches came about. because of W.
I'll be darned. I didn't know that.
Taylor or Demi Hoyle?
Demi Hoyle, was it? Yeah,
Demi-
it was the umpires that made the hand signals.
Well, as far as the players communicating with each other, when McGraw was coaching third and managing at the same time, it was because he had to learn sign language through Demi Taylor.
Jeff, can we see some more of the list?
Sure.
Hey, guys, can I interject two former Giants who you may not know? George, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, you might help me on this. Can I get my 2 cents in?
Yeah, there are 1,823 Giants. Go ahead, since 1883, Mo. You are not one of them.
823, huh?
There's one Giant who I knew for over 50 years, and he played in one game for the San Francisco Giants, Nick Testa.
Nick Testa.
Yes, catcher.
Yeah, he was with the Yankees.
Yeah, that's right.
Catcher.
He played in only one game. George has all the details, even though I knew him and his family for many years.
Wow.
He
Without
played in
Nick-
one game. He got under a pop-up and he dropped it. That was his one. That was his one game.
Right.
He wound up coaching my friend in Lehman College back in the late
Right.
60s. He was on the baseball team and he coached with Lehman.
He and
Without
Cepeda, wait a minute. He and Cepeda went for the pop-up and they gave him the error, and he didn't get. He was up two batters. He missed getting an at bat because Darrell Spencer hit a home run in the 9th inning.
Right.
He was deprived of a bat.
Without Nick Testa, I wouldn't have been involved in baseball in any way, including baseball, including playing. But I knew the family, and my family, mother and father, knew their family for 50 years. The other guy I want to mention.
Small world.
Yeah. Well, there's one. I managed a team in the early 50s called the Cubs. Naturally, I would call them the Cubs. But there was another guy who was close to.
I don't know where the guy is now.
Was close to Nick,
Author.
who played for the San Francisco Giants.
He took over the meeting.
Huh? His name was Dominic Zanni.
Dom Zanni.
Tom Zan, yep.
He was a pitcher.
Yeah.
He pitched.
And the strange part about it is that he, aside from the fact that he and Nick Testa were close friends, they played on my team, an amateur team, for 1 month. Dominic, who passed away 3 years ago, and Nick were friends. And what can I tell you?
Thank goodness the White Sox wanted him, because they traded Billy Pierce and Don Larson to the Giants for Zanni and Bob Farley, a journeyman first baseman. The Giants, you want to know a trade that was bad. The Giants just snowed them on that one.
I got to chime in.
Go.
Is this working?
Yeah,
I got to chime in on Dom Zanni. I told this story before. Dom Zanni walked into the James Monroe High School gymnasium when I was trying out for the team. We were playing indoors because it was a lousy spring. This is somewhere I'll figure out exactly when it was. And I remember him walking into the gym. I didn't know it was Dom Zanni, but he had a San Francisco Giants gym bag, big gym bag. And the coach of the Monroe team, Joe Consagra, says to me, Weinberg, get into the batting cage and don't swing, but Zanni's going to pitch. And Zanni, I only estimate that he was throwing at about 1,000 miles an hour, but it really wasn't. But I remember when he threw a curveball, that's when I decided I was going to try to be a sports writer, but because it scared the hell out of me. But that's my Dom Zanni story, and I'll never forget it.
By the way, somebody asked about the Newark Bears.
Yeah.
I just went through Baseball Reference. Unless I missed any, I found only one Hall of Famer in the 30s with Newark, and it was Tris Speaker in 1930. So they had some great teams and a lot of familiar names like Charlie Keller, but not much on Hall of Famers.
Hey, Jeff, I just want to point out, and the book is very good. It's interesting because of all the names. Bobby Mercer is Murcer.
Yeah.
Oh.
MU.
Yeah.
It happened a couple of times, I guess. Whatever. It's not a
Also,
big
is Ellis
deal, but-
Burks in the Ellis Burks in the book? Because I don't see him.
No, he's not in this.
He actually had a couple of good years with the Giants.
Yeah.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
Well, those are my two Giant stories, Nick Testa and Dom Zanni.
Yeah, wow.
Well, there's another guy who should be in there, didn't quite make it. He came up with in the Giant system, but never got there. Ernie Broglio, a good buddy of Mo's until he died recently.
I knew him from 1957 when I became part of the New York Giants arrangement. Double A, Dallas Eagles, Ernie Broglio. I met him, and we corresponded for over 50 years. A good guy.
He was the one that the Cubs, the Cardinals traded for
Lou Brock.
Lou Brock.
Yeah,
One of
but
the great
a
trades
lot
of
of
all
people, a
time.
lot of people don't know the real story about Ernie Broglio, and George, it's in the book.
Yeah.
So he was quite a guy. The only guy that's left from that Dallas team is Joey Amalfitano, who on occasion I speak to. He's with the Giants. Still with the Giants.
Billy Gardner. Mo.
Spoke to Billy Gardner's wife about 3 or 4 months ago. Another good guy. He was my boss when he was with the Montreal Expos.
And you're good friends with Philippe Lou in Montreal.
Philippe Lou I still speak to, and he was my boss with the Montreal Expos single, double, and AAA teams where I coached.
Alfitano, I believe, was the first ever Dominican to play in the big leagues when you consider how many Dominican Republic players there are now. Alfitano was the first one ever back in the mid-50s.
Alfitano, Mays borrowed his bat when he hit the 4 home runs in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Anybody remember the Sport magazine story about Nick Testa in the early 60s?
Portrait of a Failure.
That's right. Good.
Right. And I remembered that only because in our neighborhood, we used to, we had a few Giant fans. We used to listen to Les Kiter, during the games, and that name was stuck because of the fact that he played in one game and he dropped a pop-up and he became famous in the neighborhood, and that's it. So when we saw that Sport magazine, yeah. Now there was another catcher. I don't know if you remember. He was one of the 8 players involved in the '56 trade when Giants traded him. Two main people were Al Dark and Red Shandings, and they exchanged catchers. And the catcher that the Giants got played for only 3 months. He was 29 years old. Got a heart attack and never played.
Sarney.
Right.
Bill Sarney.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Sarney. Yep.
I remember Bill Sarney.
Never played again. Right.
Yeah. How long did this take you to put together?
Not that long. When I got into it, I was doing it every day, and I would say, I don't know, 2 or 3 months per book.
Jeff, have you tried to get the book to sell at the dugout stores, or no good? Doesn't work.
Yeah, the Giants dugouts, I tried. I haven't gone in. I haven't been able to go in and push it, but I did find somebody online involved with the Giants merchandise, and I'd never heard back from them.
Yeah, it's tough.
So,
do you ever come down for spring training to Scottsdale?
I did last February. Was it last year or 2 years ago? 2 years ago, I think was the last time.
Okay, that's once things get back to normal, who knows when, that might be a place to set up a table and, it's a nice book to sell at the ballpark.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I might think about doing that.
You can go around to, once the Dodger book's already out.
Yeah.
You can go to Camelback Ranch, and Cub book, you can go to Mesa. I mean, that's, you can spend a whole week here, and, they may charge you for a table. I'm not sure how that works, but you can certainly get a hold of somebody in customer service. Gary's got some names of people that the Giants have working for them and might be able to help you with that.
Hey, a big part of history was my last day at the Polo Grounds. I was there with 11,000 other people, did a video. They let me on the field, and it's now in the Hall of Fame. And Gary, please make sure that these participants get a copy of that video. And by the way, Perry Barber, she's a part of it since the beginning. So.
Jeff, do you have any more
Tiny Bird.
any more screens you want to show us? You want to take it off and we'll just all look at each other and talk?
Yeah, no, that's it. This is the players who retired that are in the book. But no, that's it. I got all my slides in. So.
Gary, what was the guy's name? Skip Pitlock? Is that the one we were talking about?
Yeah, but he's just a run of the mill pitcher who, he wouldn't be in the book because he didn't really accomplish. He's like John Cumberland in '71. He was the Giants' third pitcher who,
Yeah. Okay.
Hey, Gary?
Yes.
Yeah, I got a story. When Duke Snider came to the Giants in April of
64?
63. I have
he was on the Mets in April of 63.
Yeah, 64.
He came in 64?
Yeah, 64.
I thought he came in 63 because I got a 8mm movie showing that he wore number 11. And the reason he wore number 11 because number 4 was worn by Charlie Neal. And when Charlie
May have
Neal
come late in the year.
was
He
the
may have
Mets.
come late in the year in '63. But he started the year with the Mets.
Yeah, and then when Neal got traded, he got numbers 4 back.
Well,
Jeff, I think you'd have a big audience in New York if you did a Met book as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, my research said that he didn't wear 4 because Mel Lott did.
You wore 28, you said.
Yeah, he wore 28. It had been retired by 1964, according to my notes.
With the Giants?
Yeah, the number 4, but the Giants had been retired
Right.
by 1964 because of Mel Lott. So he didn't have an option. So he wore 28 instead.
Jeff, what was the most surprising thing that you found in putting this book together for you?
Well, I mean, just how many Hall of Famers played for the Giants I didn't know about. That was kind of
okay.
Yeah, I have to admit I'm more familiar with the post San Francisco Giants I am the New York Giants, but I'm very familiar with a good part of their history. The Giants, not going way back, but
I think you'd be surprised about how many members in here have continued their loyalty to the Giants, Jeff, in San Francisco.
Gary,
Don't you remember what I keep saying? Everybody is a Giant fan.
They just don't know it yet, some of them.
Right. They don't really, they're not sure.
Yeah, they don't know it yet.
Gary, still got the T-shirt that we got in Cooperstown with all the Giants that are Hall of Famers?
Yes,
I
I
have
do.
that one.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Anybody else have any questions for Jeff?
No, he did a tremendous job.
Oh, great job.
You really covered all the bases.
Give it up for Jeff.
Thank you very much, Jeff.
thank you.
Jeff, one last time before we depart. How could they get the book if they're interested? Best way?
Well, easiest way is just to go to Amazon and either search for my name, Jeff Wagner, or They Played Baseball for the Giants, or go to my Amazon author page, which is amazon.com/author/Jeff S. Wagner. So,
Anybody who has trouble with that, just email me. You know, I just want to bring this up because we're all asking these trivia questions. I was actually watching Married with Children, and I heard a great question. Willie Mays, Hank Aaron, Babe Ruth. What do they have in common?
Yeah.
They
Hank
all
Aaron
started and ended their careers in the same city.
Yeah.
playing for a different team.
Very
They played
good.
different
Good
teams.
job.
But,
That's right. There's the
So
three
you got
guys.
Mays with the Giants and the Mets.
yeah, yeah.
Aaron with the Braves and the Brewers. And
Right.
Ruth with the Red Sox and
And
the
the Braves.
wow.
exactly.
Wow,
You
that's a
got
good.
this
Great
off
question.
Married with Children?
Yes, believe it or not.
You never know. You never know.
You never know where you see stuff that you might learn. But Jeff,
Okay.
thanks again. I will be sending this out and with other updates for next week's Zoom. But we really appreciate you spending the time with us tonight, and hopefully everybody learned something. It's very interesting, and esteem means a lot of things, Jeff. So thank you. So,
Oh, you bet.
have in
All
mind,
right.
okay?
Pri-
Thank you,
privilege.
Jeff, very much. Thank
Be
you.
well, guys.
Thanks, Jeff.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you, Gary.